I'll take the 2-2. That's what Mark Boucher had to say after their draw in the series against India. And I think it's a perfect time for us to obviously speak about this game, speak about Mark Boucher's comments, give some insight into what his thinking was. So I'll go through some of his comments and, of course, what he had to say in the press conference after the game. And we'll try to analyze it and go deep with it. Try to understand what Boucher was saying, try to get an understanding of what he was thinking, um, and just have a general discussion about it and what you guys think is what I really want to see. I want to see what the fans have to say, you guys have to say about this particular case and about what Boucher had to say after the game. But before we get started, before we get going, before any of this happens, please subscribe to this channel. Click that notification bell for all future videos, please. Also, don't forget to smash that like button, comment, and share, and subscribe, and do all of those things as well. But also, download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free, straight to your inbox every single month. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. Also, please become a part of our Patreon. That's how we're going to keep this everything going, and it helps us obviously produce more content and better content for you guys. So please get involved there too, with the comment section as well as in the Patreon account. You'll also get access to a special group where you can contact me directly and have a chat with me as well about cricket. Generally speaking, we have a group where all the patrons sit in as well. I released an article today on cricketfanaticsmag.com. It's about Temba Bavuma. It's my honest take on what I've learned now over the last couple of months and year with Temba Bavuma at the realm, as a batter, as a captain. I've given my honest opinion after listening to you guys every single day, seeing what your comments have been, watching it with the naked eye and seeing what he's been doing, looking at his career and his stats actually in depth. I put a piece together to give you guys a take on what I feel about the situation. And I warn you guys, most people will probably read it and assume that I'm defending Temba or saying things positively about him. All I did is I went into the facts, went deep into it, and I separated it to show you guys the difference, and also gave my opinion on where I think things stand. So please go and read that. I would like to hear what you guys have to say. Come talk to me on the show sometime this week and let me know what your comments are about that piece, because my mind has also changed about it, and I've looked at it a lot more in depth with regards to that, a lot more in depth. So yeah, very interesting to see that. So let's get going into today's show. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you guys, and I'll see you on the other side. Talk to you very soon. We're going to be dealing with everything that has to do with Mark Boucher's press conference. I've taken a couple of quotes that I really want to speak about, and I'm going to be highlighting that and talking about that. So see you now. A very good evening and welcome to Cricket Fanatics Magazine. This is your daily show. I'm your host, Khalid, and this is the show where we talk about all the major talking points in South African cricket. And today we're going to be discussing, of course, Mark Boucher's press conference. So I've pulled out a couple of quotes because we never got the actual press conference to bring it up, and to obviously put it on the channel. So let's talk about this right now. There were some interesting facts about this particular case, not particular case. Sorry, there was interesting things that Boucher said. I'm getting distracted over here, guys, because obviously you know that piece that I put out has been getting a lot of traction and a lot of flack. I've been getting flack, surprisingly, as well as people supporting me, people flack going against me, people saying making comments before they actually read the piece. So I try my best to be as balanced and unbiased as possible, but yet I'm still being called biased, which I don't understand how I can be called biased still with what I've written. But okay, it will be the case. You'll have people that disagree with you and agree with you, and that's okay. I like to see everybody's views on it, and I can see that it is quite different. Like some people were against it, some people were for it, some people were in the middle. So it shows that nobody can come up with a right conclusion on this. But this is Mark Boucher's press conference. Let's talk about that. Let me bring out the first quotes that I have for you guys. It was a it was tough losing Aiden Markin before the first game had even started. It put us under a bit of pressure, as Boucher said. We wanted to play six batters with Aiden being our sixth bowling option, but we couldn't do that. One of the lessons, though, is that players are coming out of the IPL and in good form. They've been playing a lot of cricket in these conditions. So I'm going to go to that first and foremost because I don't agree with that comments made. So first and foremost, yes, we lost Aiden early, and yes, it was a massive blow for South Africa because obviously we feel that he is an important part of our middle order. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I've been a fan of Aiden for a very long time, and I've always wanted him actually to be captain of the side going forward. But I wanted him to first get his form in order and then take the captaincy. So now that he's done that, I feel that he's getting into a space where I feel in the future he can be the captain very soon. Like I said in my piece that I wrote, if Avuma's form continues, we're going to have to really start thinking about what we're going to do with him at the top of the order. We have to consider whether we're going to move on from him and maybe change the captain. And I think Aiden would be a very good option in that particular role. But that's just an opinion of mine personally, not the views of Cricket Fanatics magazine, of course. But when he says the things that he said about Aiden not being available as an extra bowling option, the first thing that went into my mind over there was, but Tristan Stubbs was there. Tristan Stubbs bowls some offies. He can bat as well, and he can keep. So if they wanted to maintain that mentality and that style of cricket that they want to play, where Aiden plays that role as the extra bowler, they could have experimented with Stubbs in that position. At least I think they could have. I might be completely wrong, but I think it would have been just as big of a risk to put him maybe into the team. Like, I mean, why not throw him at 3 instead of Dwayne if you were looking for someone to really play with freedom? In that particular occasion, when you lost a major player, you lose your opener early. Technically speaking, the pressure should be off the next batter to go in. So my thought process is with Dwayne Pretorius, bringing him in, the instruction would have probably been, go out there and play. Go out there and smack the ball. Try and hit the ball, get the run rate up and go there and play freely. Why couldn't they do that with a youngster? Why couldn't they do that with Tristan Stubbs? Bring him in and say, you know what, play with freedom. Go out there and play. You get your belt. We can see what you have to do. You can play with complete freedom, no worries. You know that this guy's behind you. Just go out there and play with freedom. He also can bowl. He could have at least contributed with 1 or 2 overs. That could have helped a lot with regards to that and maintaining the roles within the team. So there was no need to actually have to change everything just because Aiden wasn't available. That's my opinion on that particular comments. Atitya's with me right now. Welcome to the show, brother. I just read out Boucher's first comments about Aiden missing. So what is your thoughts on those comments particularly? If you haven't seen it, I will put it up on the screen again for you to quickly read. But he basically said it was tough losing Aiden in the first game and before the game even started, and it put them under pressure. So what's your thoughts on that? Because I just gave an opinion on why I think Tristan Stubbs could have filled that role. Because he is adding bowling to his game. He even told us that personally.
Yes, it's unfortunate that the team lost Aiden and Tristan Stubbs was an option and probably should have been used better. But I'd like to reiterate what I said yesterday on the show. The team should not be that terribly affected if one player is missing.
Yeah.
Because injuries are part and parcel of the game. COVID is also a reality, and teams have to find a way to deal with it. There will be times when you need replacements and they need to fire straight away. That's the reality of international cricket. And I think it says something about the messaging and the depth of the team if they're not if one absence causes that much of trouble, then I think it needs some rethinking.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let's move on to the next comments. The next comments that Boucher had to say is, I'll take the 2-2 as we didn't play our best cricket. But it was tough on the IPL players as they had to be in the tournament and stay for the tour. I think the guys are mentally tired and then enjoy the break. But there are a lot of lessons that you can look at since it's a World Cup year. We'll see if we can plug a few gaps, even though we're going to different conditions. We had periods where we played well, and there were periods where there could have been some learnings. Now, I don't agree with that statement. First and foremost, I don't agree with the 2-2 being a good result. First and foremost, also, I don't agree with the whole fatigue thing about the IPL. Your entire team was from the IPL. So, like your entire team played a whole tournament of IPL. In fact, some of our players didn't even play every match. So, some players didn't even play that played. The way, like Rasi, didn't play at all. So, I don't agree with those sentiments. I don't agree with that excuse. I think Boucher's been really excellent with developing our T20 game, but I feel like he's gotten to a stage where he's set up the base and he needs to take us now to that next level, or get the players to take us to that next level of excellence. And we're just floating in between there. We've managed to now chase down massive 200 totals. We've done it more recently, big totals we've chased down. Now we need to learn how to set that from the start, and also need to be able to play on good pitches and get big scores. I don't think that that 2-2 should be considered as a good result, and to be accepted. And the fact that he said he'll take it. Um, if I was Boucher as the coach, I wouldn't have accepted anything but a win in the series, whether it was close or whether it was a massive victory, either or. But for me personally, I felt that we should have won those games. There was those two games that we played against India. We played very, very poor cricket to allow India back into the series. So I don't think he should accept that, because that's kind of also accepting in a way. A lot of people tell me that I'm accepting mediocrity because I defend Teba Bavuma. Uh, so that's Boucher defending mediocrity, in my opinion. Because I don't think that that's a good excuse to say why we didn't perform. I think we had enough players. Like, for example, Klaassen was in that team um, as well. David Miller, okay, yes, David Miller had a long IPL career. I can understand the long IPL season. I understand that. Rasi didn't. Temba didn't. Kwani, yeah, he had a semi-long, you could say, tournament as well. KG as well, yes. Andrich, could maybe not say. Lungi was fresh. Tabraj was fresh. Keshaf was fresh. I think actually majority of our team was probably fresh. So I don't necessarily agree with that statement. And I don't think that we should take the 2-2 as a positive result. What's your thoughts on that, Aditya?
Look, I think South Africa had the momentum, right? You've chased down 211,
Yeah.
212. In the first game, you've won comprehensively. And then you followed that up with a dominant performance in the second game as well. From that position, you shouldn't lose the series, because in addition to having a physical victory on the ground, you've also got a mental victory, because it tells you that on a good pitch, South Africa is capable of chasing 212, and on a tricky pitch, they're capable of chasing down 150 odd as well. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about, right? Like, versatility is what we were going after, and they showed that in those first two games. So to allow India to slide back into the series in the third game, and then the fourth game to crumble completely to what, 87 for 9, that's a bit much.
Mm. I was very disappointed. Like you saw me in the review, I was disappointed. Very upset about the way things took place. Like I said, honors weren't even, because I mean, the momentum was fully with us. Winning the first two opening games was a massive momentum with us. I thought that was I thought that we would be the ones coming back in the series and maybe clinching a 3-2. I never thought that we'd take a 2-0 lead and allow it to slip. So yeah, I don't fully agree with the sentiments and the comments of Mark Boucher, and maybe we take it out of a little bit out of context. Maybe there was more behind it, but those are the quotes that I found on it. Um, that was publicized actually in multiple publications around, as well as on Cricket Fanatics magazine. So yeah, let's have a look. Have a look at everything. It's quite interesting to see this. Let's go to the next comments. What he had to say is, it's tough coming from South Africa to play in India. The top players may not be here, but the depth is impressive, and that's due to the IPL. So he's talking a lot about the IPL over here. First and foremost, he used to speak about the IPL, saying that the IPL, he actually is the one that pushed that narrative that the IPL is not the same as international standard. He says international standard is way better than IPL. He actually said that in an interview that I watched before. So it's surprising that he's flipped his story now. They can take a lot of confidence from this tour as well. You don't just rock up in India and expect to win. Not much can be read into the outcome of the series, as our plans will probably change when we go to Australia, but that's something we're aware of. The series was in front of us, and we needed to to do what we could in these conditions. We've asked a few questions on this tour, and we've got a few good answers. It's a pity that he can't give me the answers, Aditya, and what he's talking about, because I don't know what he's saying. Because it's not like we've seen something in this series that we haven't seen in West Indies against other teams, against Sri Lanka. Like I've seen similar fight, similar passion from the same players that have pulled us out of the hat. Rassi, David, Heinrich, same players are doing it for us. Kwani hasn't necessarily come to the party this time around like he did in the other two series. Um, but there's major issues over here in this team. Like we said, we have a problem in the power play. We need to fix that opening partnership. I still believe that we need to settle on a finisher and decide who it's going to be. And then we're going to have to decide what we're going to do with the two all-rounders, whether we're going to play it or not. Because I think I would like to see both all-rounders play. I think Wayne Parnell has really proven himself on this tour, and he really impressed me. Whether he can hold it and stay fit for a long period of time is another question, because he does pick up a couple of niggles here and there. But generally speaking, I was impressed with him. I was impressed with Lungi in the last two in the what I've seen from Lungi. I was impressed with KG this tour. He bowled decently. Um, I was impressed with what Rassi did in the chase, and I was impressed with David because he comes off great form. But I don't necessarily agree with all the sentiments that were shared with us with regards to Mark Boucher. So what is your thoughts on that particular comments that he made?
I mean, my first question is that in if Australia are playing, I mean, South Africa is playing in Melbourne, and they're 50 for two. My question is, will Rassi Ventutusan go in or not? That's my question. Because are you going to are you going to bring Dwayne Pretorius in there, or are you going to play Rassi Ventutusan? What's the plan? I don't know what the plan is. Right now, it seems like they don't trust Rassi to bat at three. That's the impression that I get. But I hope that I hope that I'm wrong and that there actually is a plan in place, because at the moment I'm slightly confused.
Yeah, because I mean, when it comes to conditions, like we already spoke about, these conditions weren't typically Indian conditions. Okay, maybe in the last two games you could perhaps say there was more in it for the spinners and for the slower bowlers. But in those first two games, it was very good batting wickets actually. I think that if you got yourself in, you could really put on big totals on the board, which proved to be the case. Now he's basically written the series off in a way. That's what I'm getting from it, and saying yes, there were a couple of learnings, but we're going to change our whole game plan for Australia. So what is he going to do for England? Because there's an England tour that's coming. Is he going to write that off too? I mean, those are going to be different conditions to what he's going to see in Australia, um, um, most likely. And when why couldn't he just address that with a plan? Give us a plan as a fan base to understand where he's heading with his team. So it was a bit puzzling, some of the comments that were made, um, and I don't agree with all of it. But let's see what happens. Let's take it game by game, series by series, and see how we develop as a team. So like I said, there were some learnings that we took out of it. Yes, I've spoken about it before. I mean, my mind is a lot more open with regards to things. We are going to have to start thinking about how we're going to fix that opening partnership. I tried to explain it in the article that I wrote early on today. Tried to explain what my thoughts and views are on the matter and what we need to do. There's a guy, Riley Rousseau, that's batting excellently in England currently. I don't know. I don't want to really compare T20 blast cricket to the other domestic leagues around the world. I don't think it competes. I think that the T20 Blast is a good tournament, but I don't think it's as good as the IPL tournament. I know that Owen Morgan spoke very glowingly about South Africa's Mzansi Super League and the standard of cricket here. I don't know if that's 100% true, if all of them think that. but he did speak really highly of it. So, but still, the Riley's average run scored 50s, all of those things he's doing right. So now the question is, are they going to speak to him? Because I do believe that Victor should at least speak to everybody. I think at least speak to every single person out there. So at least they know and understand. Look here, this is where I am in this role. They're not fishing, like hoping or playing and hoping that they're going to get picked. Rather, knowing a plan and how to get into the team. So that fearlessness we need to find in a player. I was hoping that Pavuma could just play with fear, with that fearlessness, and come out there with no pressure on him. But obviously, everything's weighing on him at the moment, and he hasn't really performed the way we'd liked. Um, but I hope that Victor at least speaks to Riley. Seeing that it's in England and he's already in England, it wouldn't be so difficult to just throw him into the squad, would it? I mean, give him an opportunity, have a conversation with him, put him into the squad, and let's see what he does. If he can show, if he can prove to be a good partner for Quentin de Kock, then great. If it looks like he's starting to boggle down and and hold back Quinton de Kock a bit, then maybe we must rethink that again. Whether Quinton de Kock perhaps is a weak link in the side is also maybe a possible thing, although I don't believe it. I don't agree with that. But people have raised that question about Quinton de Kock's form. So especially in World Cups and ICC events. Although I I believe that Quinny is our king. Like he should be protected and obviously he should be let off the leash and allow him to just play the best that he can. So, what is your thoughts on that particular statement about having a conversation with the likes of Riley? Maybe I know they've already spoken to Faf and they couldn't come to agreement. So that's really really unfortunate on South Africa's part because there was another leader that you can add in. But what is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, South Africa need to speak to as many players as they possibly can, and Riley Rousseau is one of them. But then the controversial bit there is that assuming you bring Riley Rousseau into the setup and he's warming the bench, I think there's going to be more outrage then because like, you've got a player of Riley Rousseau's caliber, but he's not actually in the playing 11. So what do you do? And and that's my thing, right? Like if Riley Rousseau's not in the playing 11, then surely I mean he's good enough to be in the playing 11. So
Yeah.
I
You
think
see,
that's going
like,
to be something that they deal with.
and on top of that, at the beginning, I was one of the guys at Icha that was like anti Colpacks. I don't like it when I didn't like the fact that players signed Colpack deals and left. Riley Rousseau was one of. I'm not going to even lie, you guys. Riley Rousseau was one of my favorite players in South African cricket. Like the first picture that I ever took as a journalist, I wasn't supposed to take a picture as a journalist, but I took a picture with Riley Rousseau in the press conference room. I shouldn't be telling people that, but I took a picture with Riley and I took a picture with Faf. Both of them in the presser after the presser was done and everybody was complete. I went and asked Riley because Riley was one of my favorite bloody players. Like I thought he was amazing, and I was a big fan of Riley. But the way he left really disturbed, really hurt me as a fan to know that he just did that to his teammates and to his coach. The way he left. But when South Africa and Victor Mpetsang and the coaches, etc., all decided to tear up that decision and say we're going to bring back Colpack players if they play domestic cricket or they play in the domestic system, they decided they're going to rip that up and decided they're going to give people chances where it suited them. Simon Harmer came into the team. We've seen the likes of other Colpack players maybe also getting a slight opportunity, like Wayne Parnell now as well. So they tore that understanding up and or that contract up basically, or that rule up, and they decided to give two Colpack players an opportunity. So my take on that is, if you've decided to do that, then you need to do it for everybody. Then you need to do it for everybody. Then you can't just selectively pick Colpack players that you want to give opportunity. You need to give everybody a fair go and a fair chance. Whether they play first is an A team and then get into the Proteas team, then that must be the case. But if that's not, but have a clear plan for what you're going to do with these with the Colpack guys that have returned, because clearly they can't be. Yes, it's not out of choice. It was kind of forced because of Brexit and everything. I understand, But regardless, they could have easily just said, you know what, I'm not going to play domestic cricket. I'm just going to sign off to international leagues and go play all around the world. They could have easily just done that. But Riley Russell came back, played the T20 knockout, played in the CSA 20. I don't think he played in the CSA T20 Challenge, but I think he played in the One Day Cup. He played domestic cricket for his team. So by that ruling, you need to be fair. All I want is fairness. Give people opportunities. If you're going to give people opportunities, give them opportunities. The way they treated Sibs Makanya this year, I thought was also bad. Because I think that when you do have a player of color that is doing well, give him as many opportunities as possible, because we know we're going to need it in the long run. It's like we don't give our players of color enough opportunities. And then when they need to be picked for the international team, then they're not ready. And then we can say, you see, look there, that person didn't play well. You see there how they performed. Now we can drop them. Instead of identifying them early, giving them a clear plan and saying, you know what, we want to invest in you over the next years. You need to meet these targets. Go for it. And they haven't done that with and they don't look after our players of color enough, I feel. So that's how we solve all these issues. Like I said on a previous show, when it comes to Themba Bavuma specifically, and I don't want to keep on hopping on this topic. I think I've actually covered it all in the article that I wrote. But if it's got to do with the color thing, if it's got to do with the quota thing, there's a way that South Africa can reshuffle this team to meet the quotas without picking Themba Bavuma. There is a way to do it. And they need to decide whether they're going to do that or not. Now, I know for the World Cup, most likely, like last World Cup, quotas didn't count. They said that they're not going to count quotas for the World Cup, and they're going to put their best team on the field. But in order to do so, you need to pick your best squad. And I don't feel that they did. I was very upset about the fact that they dropped Yanaman Malan. Now, I understand about the conditions. Maybe those slower conditions weren't the right conditions for Yanaman. But Australia, I think that will suit someone like Yanaman at the top of the order. I think that will also probably suit Themba as well. I think that the faster wickets. Remember, I looked at the details of that. We haven't played in England and we haven't played in Australia. So those are the two places we're going next. England and then Australia for the World Cup. So it's gonna be fresh for all of our players. We don't know how they're gonna perform there. Unfortunately, although we've got David Miller and them have done excellent jobs in white ball cricket over there, in Australia, etc. But Bavuma hasn't played there yet. And so we're going to need to see what happens over there as well with regards to that. How he performs in England is going to be like the final decision. It's so unfortunate that he got injured when he did. And it seems to keep happening. It's almost like it's a target on his back because he keeps getting injured at the wrong times. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we need to sort out that power play and make sure that we can obviously perform at a much better level in that power play. You didn't even tell me, did I have the wrong graphic up here? Supposed to say Daily Show. Oopsie.
The one thing that I worry about a little bit is that there's all this chat about having Faf in and Ryder So in and Imran Tahir and the callbacks and my worry is that they're not included in the team right now. But suddenly, 1 month before the World Cup, they're all included, and the team is in a mess, and then everyone expects them to perform.
I'm very scared about that. Like, how much if they decide to drop the
something
captain.
Just tells me that if something weird happens, something like that happens, and somehow all of these guys come in, the expectation is just going to be monumental.
Yeah, I saw a tweet actually. I want to read it out. There's a guy whose comments I really respect on Twitter. I've seen him comment on a couple of things before. Obviously, I'm getting trolled by people, as per usual. Let's find it quickly. Where is it now? Should be able to find it quickly. Why is it not popping up? Here we go. This guy's name is Sam on Twitter. I think a lot of people might have seen him on Twitter as well. He said, South Africa's first game in the T20 World Cup is in 89 days. We only have 5 T20 eyes until then. Barring injury, Temba will be the captain. So the Proteas will need to find a way to get the best out of him at the top of the order. Conditions in Australia will definitely suit him better. And then someone else commented on that as well, to responding to him. I just can't find that particular comment now. If I can find it quickly. Um, uh, so someone responded with, now conditions must suit a batter. Riley Rousseau should get a shout before going down to such levels. SA talent is far better than Bavuma. So obviously we know the criticism. But then Sam said, no team is going to drop their captain less than 3 months before World Cup. Add the optics of a black African captain being sacked, and the fallout will cause massive disruptions to the preparation and do more harm than good. That's his opinion on the matter. And I listened to that and I was just thinking about that too, and thinking, what will happen if they drop him, and how much pressure is going to be on the team, and then the new captain as well. And if they pick a new captain that is currently in form, is it going to affect his form? Like if say now, for example, they pick David Miller and they say you must be the captain now. Like, will it affect his form now? Will it change what we need him to be? Like, who can soak up that pressure the most in this team currently that we have? And then we have to look at the realism of all of these things. So it's crazy to
Absolutely.
think. It's crazy to think about it.
It will affect his form, right? You look historically, how often has it been that you introduce new captain? Look at Owen Morgan from 2015, named captain right before the World Cup. It was an absolute disaster for them. That doesn't make Morgan a bad captain, but he's not working with the resources that he thought he would have, or that he wanted, or that he wanted a team that played a certain style of cricket. So yeah, I don't know. Like this sort of thing is a bit strange, because what would then happen is that, let's just for the sake of argument, everyone says that bring Faf into the team, and then suddenly in September magically Faf is included in the team, and then everyone goes in and says that now this guy has to perform, score 50 every game. That's not possible, because the guy's been out of the fold for the last 3 years. So these things take time, and that's where I worry about South Africa, that they haven't really nailed down a process in terms of selection or brand of cricket
Mhm.
that would work for them. Like if you saw Rahul Dravid's press conference, where he was asked about Rishabh Pant not performing to the best of his ability, to Ruturaj Gaikwad and Shreyas Iyer not being able to score as many runs as they would have liked. And he said, listen, we're trying to play a certain brand of cricket, and we understand that when you play a high risk game, it's not going to come off every time. Having said that, they've shown glimpses of what they can do, and we have complete faith in the fact that they will perform for us at some stage. So I think like there I saw some clarity, that these players didn't perform as well as they would have liked, but they're going to be backed because they were asked to play a high risk game. I can understand that. See, because there that gives you context as to why a player did not perform. And I feel like I don't always see that from South Africa.
Yeah. So Bibik says since 2001, almost each year ICC Trophy was there. All Proteas stars played, all big captains, no one able to achieve championship. Let's give the guy a chance. Australia conditions would be different. Lawrence Bailey says, sometimes you just have to make difficult decisions. If those difficult decisions is to benefit of the team, then it can be respected 100%. England are going to wreck us. Butler, Livingston, even that salt kid is dangerous. Meanwhile, we have anchors in our side. So yeah, the balance is important, but also what I'd like to see is a consistency in a style of cricket that they want to play, and then removing players and then putting players in according to that plan. So if you identify Aiden as a batter that can bowl, which was an excuse that was given by Markram, then find someone else that can replace Markham if Markham's not available. You always need to have someone in the back line waiting in that position. So that's how I see it. They did it for our openers. Know they have three anchors lined up if one anchor falls out of the team. Now I'm just being a little bit sarcastic there, but they've done it in other positions. So I don't understand why they can't do the same for Aiden. Find another versatile batter. There's Vian Libber. There's Tristan Stubbs can do that role. Deva Previs could possibly do that role. There's loads of other youngsters coming through the system that can do that. Bryce Parsons, I don't know about him in T20 cricket necessarily. He hasn't really necessarily come to the party, but he's a spinning bowler. You've got maybe a lower down in the order, but you've got a George Linder that can sit there and follow that, play as that extra batter and bowler. Maybe not as high as where what you call it bats, Eden bats, but they could work something around to have that extra bowler in the team. So there are others, and it should be possible to do so. Werner Erasmus again says this ODIs against England will be huge in terms of us trying to qualify for the World Cup next year. Yeah, that's another thing that we need to discuss is the ODIs. That's a whole different format again that we need to discuss, and we're reeling there too. So we're struggling there as well. So it's something that we need to speak about at a later stage. And let's see what happens with regards to that. But yeah, let's get our final thoughts, everybody. From you, Aditya, what's your final thoughts on this? On Boucher's comments. Do you think they were fair? Do you think that some were puzzling? What is your thoughts on his comments?
My only hope is that they've got some sort of process going, and that they will find a way to have replacements for players like Aiden Markham, for example, because you don't want one player's absence to sort of reshuffle the entire batting lineup. I don't think successful teams would work that way. Think about it. When the Australian teams of the late '90s, early 2000s, you had a player injured. It's not like suddenly Ricky Ponting went down to 5 to balance the lineup and Andrew Simons came to 3. That never happened. It was, you generally try to have a like for like replacement, and there's got to be a way to make that work. So that's the only thing that I would hope.
Yeah, and if they don't want to pick too many guys, like for example, if they don't want to pick both, like I have two different openers to replace either Temba or Quinny, and they want to pick one, then pick a more versatile guy. That's what I believe, right? Then don't pick a guy that can only play a slower game. Like for example, then pick a guy that can adapt his game at the top of the order. And then if you're missing a number 3, and you want to have a number 3 that can bowl, then in Aiden is the one that you want to pick. Then pick someone that is similar to Aiden. Maybe won't be exactly like Aiden, but he can provide a bowling option. Same with our all-rounders, same with our speedsters, same with our spinners. Have those guys available. There should be Bjorn Fortuin. I feel he's been hard done by. I think he's one of the best spinners we have in the country currently, especially in the power play. So let's see what happens. I think this England tour is going to be massive for South Africa again, because it's going to be all eyes on them. And critics are going to come from left, right, and center to obviously discuss these different things. Yeah, but guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to smash the like button, comment, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell for all future videos. Don't forget to also download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics magazine monthly. Every issue is 100% free straight to your inbox every single month. Link is on the screen as well as in the description. Smash the like button, please. That's very important. Also become a patron. The link is on the screen as well as in the description. And go to cricketfanaticsmag.com for all updates. Like I say, there are some things that are put online as well, that we do. Like, for example, I did a little feature today. I did a great piece on Boucher's comments. There's also a piece that we put up about Ryan Rickleton, who got a Knots contract recently. So that's also awesome. He's another person that we never spoke about that suddenly just is nowhere to be found in white ball cricket. Even though white ball cricket was his stronger format, in my opinion. That's a weird one, because that's another guy that can keep and bat. And he's an attacking batter. So it was strange that he wasn't also amongst the players that are being selected in these teams as well. Tony De Zoy is another one I feel hard done by for, and Sibs Makanya I've spoken about before. Vian Libber as well had an excellent domestic season. I hope he's going to be at least in the one-day side, because his one-day stats were ridiculous this season. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's enough for today. We'll speak to you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care and peace. Thanks, Aditya.